I'd like to call to order the Charter Township of Oxford Planning Commission regular meeting scheduled for Thursday, September 12th, 2019. Will you please rise and pay your respects to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You note the roll?
Noted.
Mr. Hunwick has an excused absence this evening. Item 4, approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
just a point of clarification. From a numbering standpoint, we go from 8 back to number 2, 3, and 4. Those should be 9, 10, and 11.
Yeah,
Friendly amendment.
That's where I was getting screwed up. 2, 3, and 4 should be 9, 10, and 11.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for the Planning Commission regular meeting of Thursday, September 12th, as amended, 2019.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. Item 5, approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular Planning Commission meeting minutes from June 13th, 2019.
I'll second.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Item number 6, public comments on items not scheduled for public hearing or on this agenda. So if there's items that are not covered on the agenda, now is the time that you can come up to the podium, state your name, address, and you've got 3 minutes to bring up your topic.
Okay. Callie Rosner, 3100 Delano in Oxford. I was going to bring out the agenda, but that's been corrected. Thank you. I'd like to point out there's a lack of availability of the information for tonight's meeting and many of the Planning Commission meetings. We've done advance FOIAs where we've asked for all the information that's been provided in your packet to be provided to us, me specifically. Others that I know of, none of us got it. I asked the clerk to email that information. He didn't have it. We had to actually come to the township today to get it, and we were told the packet would be there at the counter. It was not. The clerk was in a meeting, and we were going to be told, it was 20 minutes before the clerk would be out of the meeting so that he could find the packet for tonight's meeting. In between that, I was emailing Chairman Young and giving him this whole rundown. No, it's not there. So it's very frustrating. We can't get the information, and then to try and disseminate it against the people who really are interested in seeing it, it really has affected our ability to properly prepare for tonight's meeting. We feel like we're very ill-equipped for it. And I've said this over and over again, why aren't you posting this on the township website as a link like all the other townships do? Put the meeting information out there, put the minutes out there, be timely. Share this information with the public. The things that I worked hard to get when I first came to this meeting today, copies of this stuff, I should be able to see. There's no reason not to. It's not secret, right? You want to really work together as a team, we need to see the information. The other thing I'd like to ask is the Zoning Act requires that the Planning Commission shall be made up of representation of the various interests within this community. I'm asking what those interests are, and I'm asking what each of you represent. If you'd like to answer that at some point or have another meeting where that's put on the agenda, that would be very much appreciated. I'd also like to know who represents open space and agriculture. Who is the person that represents that interest, if there is one on this board? I'd like to know. Again, it's required. We should know, and you guys should know. I'd appreciate an answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on a topic not on the agenda?
Wilbert Hutchings, 3385 Delano. So I noticed that Lauren Carlson wrote a letter, and I was a participant on that ordinance review committee meeting that we had, and I felt pretty good when I left. Seemed like we were going to get some stuff done, and we're not doing anything. That's disappointing to me. What a waste of my time. Apparently a waste of your time. But I guess I'd like some kind of explanation on where all those nice ideas vaporized.
That is going to be discussed tonight. It's on the agenda.
The ORC committee?
I think what
Result?
we're talking to is about the zoning ordinance 67A.
I think it's going to be discussed what you're talking about, Mr.
Okay, good, good.
And I will give you my opinion on it when we get to that point. Then
That's all I'm asking
Yeah.
for. Yeah, I hate that stuff to just disappear.
Right.
Sorry, he wrote at one more point that I had forgot again. Kelly Rosner still live at 3100 Delano. That hasn't changed. I did receive a letter, and I know the point of discussion is on for later in the agenda on the actual item, but I'd like to point out that the letter states that there was some kind of meeting, that the ORSC held a listening session to hear the concerns of the citizens. Again, I'd like to stress that I have put an advance FOIA in to be notified of anything that happens within my zoning district. That is within my zoning district. I was never notified of that meeting. There was never a public notice for that meeting. I didn't know to go to that meeting, so my voice wasn't heard. And if that meeting is being used as the basis for these zoning amendments later, there's a problem. Thank you.
Anyone else in the public wishing to speak on a topic not on this agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, Commissioners' comments. Mr. Spiz?
None at this time.
Stoff?
None.
Mr. Berger?
I have none.
Mr. Knoll?
I have none.
Mr. Curtis?
Well, yeah, we completed the water line down to Drainer from the middle school, and once that got there, the supervisor and I have been working with the road commission, and we have vision clearing, ditching, road drainage going on East Drainer, if anybody's been down there. It's going from M24 to Bar. Once their ditching and vision clearing is done, we're going to be putting gravel down and regrading the road. So it'll be done here in the next probably month. It's going to be complete.
Good. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, I'd like to move to item number 8, public hearing. Purpose of the hearing is to receive public comments on the proposed amendments to Charter Township Oxford Master Plan. You get a presentation by the petitioner, and then we'll have a hearing for the public to speak. And then we'll get some comments from the township staff and consultants, have some commissioner comments, and then move forward. Can we get just a bit of a rundown,
Mr. Chair,
Lauren?
just a point of order. I think you need to officially open the public hearing.
I'm going to get the petitioner to present what's happening first, and then open it.
Gotcha.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, in the packet, you see a letter there about the master plan adoption, and that the public review, the 63-day period, where we sent it out for comments, has closed. We received some comments back from only the county, only from Oakland County, about, from the staff at Oakland County, the planning staff, about some textual changes that needed to occur where we mislinked some of their resources and some other content-based changes that we made. And since that time, we've now come to the point where, according to the Planning Enabling Act, a public hearing is required.
Okay.
So here we are.
Okay, now I'd look for a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing to discuss the Oxford Township Master Plan at 7:11.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is open, or that passes. Public hearing is now open. If you wish to speak on this topic, you can come on up to the lectern, and you'll have 3 minutes to discuss your topic. Give us your name and your address. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this topic?
Just a point of order. It'd be nice if we kind of knew what was new. Yeah, just more a point of order than anything. So can you go through and tell us what the changes are, and then we can address them, or some of them aren't clear to me at all, like for F. Like I have no idea what MCL 125.3102 is. Maybe people know that, but that's not something I know. So I don't know if that's inappropriate to do that procedure, or have me ask that question every time, like just what the reds are, so.
The master plan's been being revised over the course of the last 2.5 years, and those changes are all reviewed at these meetings with our planner. We voted on this already as a planning commission to put it out for public review. So this is just the final okay. Once it's come back, as Lauren has discussed.
Fine, can somebody explain to me what F and G are?
Where's F and G noted? I don't know what you're speaking to.
Permitted uses under ag. No, I don't. I have it was attached to the letter I just previously addressed, but where would it be? Section A, number 1, permitted uses.
I think you're looking at the zoning ordinance.
Right.
So that's not
That's not what we're
not
talking
part
about.
of our master plan.
The zoning ordinance, no.
Because so I got confused on that.
Yeah.
then.
That'll
Okay.
be coming up.
Gotcha.
We're going to do this public hearing.
I just got confused on that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's item 9 on the agenda.
Okay, good.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Margaret Culver, 3385 Delano Road. So what exactly are we looking at right now?
That's the final version of the master plan.
Which is what?
Been revised.
Which is what?
Did you, well, it was available to you to review.
No, it was not available to me.
That's news to me. Everything that's in the packet's at the counter for review.
No, I was not made aware of that. It was not made available to me. I was not asked to go pick anything up. I would like to know what it is that I'm supposed to be telling you that I approve right now. What is it that we're looking at? And I don't think that's inappropriate. You have information that you want my comment on, but you're not going to tell me what it is that I can comment on. You have it in front of you. I don't know why I can't see it or why you can't explain it to me.
In the past,
The-
we've had a draft
The- Yep.
available.
Do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Mike, okay. When this was noticed, when it was publicly noticed 15 days ago, it was put into the paper that this was going to be reviewed as part of the meeting tonight, that there was going to be a public hearing and that the material would be available to you if you requested it or came to the Township Hall. Ginny, I don't know her last name, came today and asked for it. Other people received it. Other people received, Curtis Wright sent an email to a number of people that had requested that they
one of
receive this
the
information with a
problems-
link to it so that they could
One of the
access it, and
problems
they
of
did
being
access it.
in the
Excuse me.
agricultural area is that we don't get a lot of, we don't get
This is a-
cable.
okay, this
we
is a
don't
large
get
document.
Internet.
It actually
We don't-
prevented us from sending out the packet because it is such a large document.
Yeah,
So when people requested this, they were sent the link to it that
Okay,
you could link
so-
to online.
I'll tell you what, why don't you give me the packet now? I can take some time to
like-
look at it and we can get back to it.
Okay.
You know?
This is something that's been in the works for over 2 years, and the changes have all been addressed at the Planning Commission meetings. And it was noticed when the Planning Commission sent it to the Township Board for approval a year ago. The Township Board approved it. It was heard at the Township Board, and that whole time, this was available, and it hasn't
I
changed.
know, I've been
since
coming
then.
to, I've been coming to a number of these meetings and making my concerns known. And at none of those meetings was it ever said that these decisions were being made. You know, so I don't know, I'm very confused. And I think, you know, you people have information that I should be able to get from you right now, and you won't come forward with the information. You won't tell me what I'm supposed to be commenting on, what the changes are. It seems that it would be very easy to say, okay, we're doing this here. We're doing this here. These are the changes, you know, and then we get a chance to comment on it. But you know, you're not very forthcoming at all.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, just a point of information, I've done this 3 times before. 2 of them I was actively involved in, and that's kind of really true. In fact, I have both packets from the previous master plan. One of them is,
You've got to speak up into the microphone so you can get on the record.
you know, one is the proposal that I actually paid $25 for at that time. That was different procedure, which I was willing to do. But yeah, I guess you know, we don't have internet, so if you give me a link to something, if I can't do it on my cell phone, I'm dead meat. So yeah, it doesn't help me, but I guess I didn't get that part. I'm confused too. And I, you know, my comments have always been very positive in that I just don't want the ag district changed. But I guess I don't know that that isn't not true. I mean, I have a simple request. I would like this one to be the same as this one, and the one you're doing now to be the same, but I guess I don't know that.
Okay.
Bummer.
Ma'am?
Hi, my name is Barbara Blahnik. I live at 3601 Barber Road. Just a couple questions on this packet. Do any of you have the current master plan as it has evolved with redlining, so we can easily see what has Hutch showed the old plan versus the new one? And then it would be very easy to see the differences.
Yeah, so we don't usually do that. That's not a standard practice for a master plan. A master plan is different than a zoning ordinance. A zoning ordinance is policy and law, and so the changing of any single word could change the meaning of a sentence and the basis of a law. Master plan is different. The master plan is the guide, so it's the vision, which has a different weight in the community. So a document like this that's 135 pages long, we change. We go through and the process is to discuss it at the meeting and to, as a professional, to take the information that is provided by the public through the survey period and through the Planning Commission, through discussions, and through the visioning period, and capture that, and then bring it back and ask if it's been captured.
Are you saying that when the survey was done, you took those comments into consideration?
I'm saying that the planner did. I was not here at that time. That was 2 years ago when that occurred. So, yes, I'm saying that those comments were taken into consideration in 2017 and incorporated in ways that the Planning Commission saw fit.
The comments, it was a survey, you know, rather than have a meeting, it was said it would be more expeditious to have more people perhaps respond and give their opinion. After that survey period closed, I know Mr. Curtis was at a meeting and he said there were so many people from the ag district, horse country, that responded it would be ignored because there was an over preponderance of answers. So our comments were ignored. That's what he said at a meeting. You're winking, Mr. Curtis? What does that mean? I see.
I can't
I
speak
understand
to-
what that means.
I can't speak to what Mr. Wright said, but I can say that more than 300 people participated in the survey.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you what Mr. Curtis said in a public meeting, so you could go back to the tapes and hear it for yourself. Specifically on the master plan, which I am ignorant of what the changes are and what the final looks like. I did see a couple of the maps that were put in, and perhaps Joe Ferrari talked to you today after my phone call with him. Since you have it and I don't, could you turn to page 44? Any of you have a copy?
We all have it.
We're all at the meeting and no one has a copy of what we're talking
It's on
about.
the screen. ma'am.
Interesting.
Why are you doing this? Mike,
We can
Yes?
take the note of this.
take a note of it. We'll move on.
All right, so is there an issue with the map? You can just tell us what it is and we'll make a note.
Well, I think it's more important if I actually show it to you. I mentioned it at the board meeting yesterday, the sloppiness of the map, and that's why Mr. Ferrari called. I mean, it caused enough of a stir that Mr. Ferrari contacted me after the meeting. Okay, can I indicate anything with my pen, or I don't have access to that?
Yeah, can you just explain what's
Okay,
at issue?
if you look at the map, look in the upper right-hand corner, which is the horse country ag zoning. And if you look at the very top row, and look 4 colors from the right, do you see a dark green mass?
Yep.
You see that?
Yes.
Okay. Below the green mass is a white
Yeah.
block with a line in the middle, okay?
Yeah.
And below that white mass is a solid white mass, okay? That's what I want to address. So we've got a solid green, we've got 2 white blocks, and then we have a solid white, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the property owner of the 2 white blocks. Okay, I have 2 parcels, 40 acres. South of me, 5 years ago, Mrs. Moore came to Deanna Cushing and asked her to split that 40 acres into 2 20-acre parcels, and Deanna Cushing did that. The map in the current master plan is dated April 2017. Who put that date on that map, please? Who dated the map?
I'm assuming it was my map person at my firm.
Did your map
created
person
that
happen
map.
to talk to Deanna with the work she does on lot splits, which is so critical, to see if that map from 10 years ago is appropriate today? Deanna, did they come and ask you? Silence. Okay.
We receive the map, we receive a parcel map from the county, so what is registered with the county, we
So
take.
Deanna didn't register the lot split? That's, better go back to the records of 5 years ago that the Moore's property was not split. And the green block north of my 2 parcels, as you all know, has been split into 5 parcels. 5. 4 of them are House of Providence, 118 acres, and a little wedge at the very top is Dave Fisher, 20 acres. Now, where are those lot splits? That was done in 2016, and Dave Fisher's was done in 2015.
All right, what I'm doing is I'll note that the map needs to be updated, and we'll contact the county about that.
Okay, if you go to page 48, and I won't have you do more flip-flops, same thing applies on the map on page 48, same errors. But again, if Deanna didn't register it with the county, that's why your map person wouldn't know. So your map person will have to talk to Deanna Cushing as to what happened. That's the information you've given me.
Okay.
I guess my other question is, I'm totally at a loss to know what we're going to talk about tonight, since I have no information on what the current master plan looks like. But, does anyone have a copy, a hard copy you can give to us, and we can be looking at it as you talk? Did anyone bring a hard copy today? That's incredible. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak?
Right there. She's standing. Nice.
May I borrow it? You can have it.
Callie?
Yep, Callie Rosner, still 3100 Delano.
Take it back to your seat and look at it.
I can testify that we don't have internet in our area. That's a big problem. It's a safety problem too, but we don't get
It's an Oakland
internet
County problem.
where we are. It really is a big problem.
That's an Oakland County problem.
It'd be nice if you actually put that in some kind of plan to try and service the people in the community. a nutshell, I think what would be helpful to know is, for me, what changes in the master plan have you made from the previous one to this one that affect the agricultural zoning district? What changes have been made? That affects me. And, you know, if you can say there's no substantial changes, and then that's what it is. But I'd really like to know what the change is so we can address that specific change on there. Why did you make the change from the previous plan to this plan? Why did you do it? What was the need? So what was changed? There had to be a need for it. I know you had to update it. Is it just a rubber stamp to say you updated it and you're waving a magic wand over it and say, look, it's updated? But the map you used is still from 10 years ago and it's not updated, you just redated it? I mean, seriously, I think the township needs to make an effort to actually do the spirit and intent of an update. I mean, actually look at it, okay? So let's go back to the map. We can start with the land use map. She had talked about the lot splits not being there. There's a lot of properties there that have been split that aren't shown. That needs to be done. And again, I'm speaking.
Sorry, I only talked about my contiguous.
Right. I'm speaking. Right. I'm speaking in the agricultural district. There's many of those lots that have been split, and those are not showing. You've got the green spots where there aren't green uses. Okay, that big green blob in that, you know, one section on the map. I think it's on the corner of Davison Lake and Barber. That's not recreation. That's single family use right now. That hasn't been a hunt club for quite some time. It still shows it on page 41, I believe it is, for the vacant and transitional lands. And, you know, so each corresponding thing goes to the other in your book. Is that page 51?
Right, so I've noted that we're going to try
Yeah.
to get updated maps
Yeah, so page
from the
50 and
county.
51 on the vacant and the transitional lands, it's showing it as vacant. It's not vacant, it's been split up, and there's a new house on one, and
Okay.
so those need to be fixed, because it really should be more accurate for this time. I mean, what happens in the other zoning districts I can't speak to. I can speak to the ag, because there's so few of those parcels left, even though it says that it's a priority to save. And this community and the residents in that zoning district have come so many times to tell you how important it is, and it falls on deaf ears. So hopefully we can change that. So if we could do that, and also be consistent. I noticed that you did change the farm that would be on the south side of Delano Road, or south side of Oakwood, east of Delano Road, and that's recreational, which is a horse stable. But then you should also change Rattlewood, because they're a horse stable too. That's a big property there on that southern quadrant in the area. So if you're going to say that, like, boarding stables are recreational, you should do it to all of them in that area. And there's a lot more than just Winnigan and Rattlewood. We've got Sassafras, and I mean, there's a ton of them out there. So I don't know. Yeah, a majority of the land. I'm an equestrian facility, and I'm not Mark Green. So I don't know. I guess there just needs to be consistency. Who do we pick and choose to be called recreation there? So either just keep it as ag use, or put everybody that's a stable there in recreation. You're talking, there's only 26 properties. It's not hard to get it right. So for the record, I'm handing you this so it goes in, because I know that there's a history of public meetings and having public hearings and having the citizens' comments lumped into one group. I'm telling you right now, please don't put me into a group. I'm Callie Rosner. My comments stay with me. And I'm going to hand it to you for accuracy, if I may.
Okay.
And this is regarding the inaccuracy of the designation in the ag. So I hope that you would not pass this plan along with the rubber stamp and say we updated it when you didn't, because that would be disingenuous. Thank you.
Anyone else in the public wishing to speak on the master plan update? Okay, seeing none.
You got one come out. Michael?
Oh, one more.
So, being a resident of the agricultural district, What change did you make to that in the plan? Does anyone know? I'm just talking about one district. I'm not talking about the whole master plan. I just want one agricultural district. Were there changes made there, and what were they?
Okay. That concern's noted.
Not one of you can answer my question? None of you know?
We're just taking public comments at this time.
So, someone from the public can't ask a question to be answered?
I would say correct to that.
So when would it be appropriate for me to ask a question like that? There's no spot in this meeting format where I can ask a question to be answered. There's no opportunity for me to do that. That doesn't seem like very much of a very equal to have, the public then really doesn't even have any kind of input into what you've got going, because I can't ask a question and have it answered. Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Sir?
Hi, guys, gals. Jim Eunice, Gardner Road, Oxford, 3575 Gardner. I guess we've been here many times with the same problems that the previous speakers have just talked about. We fly blind when we come here for the Planning Commission because the information that you people have at your fingertips, so to speak, we never get it. So we come here feeling that you're going to have a handout that we can look at and talk with you folks. It never happens. So the information is not being pushed through. You've heard it many times. Can't you people get on board with some handouts that have either red or green or blue or whatever you would like that you could hand out to us and we could talk? It would go faster, smoother, cleaner. I don't speak good English when I say cleaner, but okay. Anyway, we can do this. We tried to do it, but it just doesn't come through to us. We don't have all the tools that you folks do. You look at this cross-section of people, you guys got, and gals, got all the information, but we can't get it. Can't we make it simple? We've been doing, after this changes and whatever, for almost 3 years now. We got some brilliant people in this room. We ought to be able to make it happen. Thank you.
Anyone else in the public wishing to speak? Okay, seeing none, look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing at 7:35. Second.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Okay, now I'd like to get any comments from any of the consultants. Lauren?
Yes, thank you. I do want to note that I believe a week ago, I received information from Kathy Warfield, I believe is her last name, that she had found two maps that had mislabeled information on them regarding the property right around where they're talking about the House of Providence property. And it was two maps that were mislabeled and one information table relating to one map that was mislabeled. And she pointed out how it was mislabeled, and she was correct. And I looked into that, and I believe that the maps were, it was that the House of Providence property was not represented as a residential property, and it was because these maps were created prior to that becoming a residential property, and it was at the time vacant. So I do believe that these maps should be, certainly those two that I know of for sure that I've already looked into should be updated, and can be done as a condition of approval.
Okay. Any commissioners' comments? From here, the master plan would go back into the township, right?
According to the Planning and Enabling Act, unless the township has passed a resolution requiring the township board to approve it, the planning commission approval is is adoption of the master plan. And Oxford Township has not passed a resolution for the township board to be the approving body, so planning commission's approval would be the adoption of the master plan.
So it's just in the motion that you have to name the condition to update the maps?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Fisk?
My question, comments are also relative to the maps, because I think the residents bring up some good points. And looking at the dates on the maps, they're almost 3 years old. And a lot of things can happen in 3 years. So I would like to see every single map in the master plan updated to be within the last 6 months, or if we can get recent ones. I don't know how quickly we can get them from the county. They're all part of GIS, so I'm assuming we can get them pretty quickly.
We have an updated parcel map.
Okay, every map in this master plan should be updated to be within recent times, in my opinion. So if that's something we can do on a condition, I'm okay with that. But there should be no reason we have 3-year-old maps in a master plan that we're approving in 2019, because 2020 is right around the corner.
Anyone else?
I have none.
Well, I just want to make a comment.
Go ahead.
The original master plan that we started with in 2007 has had numerous amendments made through July of 2019. So to pinpoint specific conditions of amendments that have been made through that period of time would be almost impossible to do, to have them all redlined. I mean,
Very
to do something
cumbersome,
like that.
yes.
So that'd be pretty awkward. But in all fairness, from when we first generated this plan back in 2017, there should have been a point that we could have went back from that 2-year period and said if we've made any amendments from there, they should be relevant to what we are proposing for the ordinance change in the master plan for this evening, but that's my opinion, so. I mean, there's good points to all parts of it. And we're gonna talk about the ag property later tonight, but that's not what we're doing with the master plan.
Correct.
Tonight. So that's part of the concerns of some of the people in the audience tonight, which we will talk about. But then there's points that were made relevant to maps and other conditions of what they didn't have a chance to look at, which I'm concerned there too, so. When we get something and have a chance or an opportunity, we don't know what the public receives sometimes. So that's my comments.
Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners? All right, I look for a motion then.
I move that the Planning Commission conditionally approve the finalized draft of the 2019 Charter Township of Oxford Master Plan as submitted and as required by Article 125.3843, Section 43 of the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, PA Act 33 of 2008. This approval is conditioned upon the following: updating areas on all maps and map descriptions of properties mislabeled as listed by the planner. And a motion. A second?
Okay, it's been Moved and supported. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I have questions based on the motion. You said conditionally approved, so, but your motion is indicating that we're going to approve it as long as all the maps have been updated based on comments from the planner. That's what I meant.
One more time. We're going to approve it on the condition the maps are up.
This approval is conditioned upon the following: updating the areas on all maps and map descriptions of the property mislabeled as listed by the planner.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, I think we'll do a roll call. Mr. Berger, you want to handle that?
I'll take the roll call. Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Hunwick is absent. Knopf,
Yes.
Nold,
Yes.
Spiz,
No,
Berger, no. Young,
Yes. Motion passes.
Can I make a very quick comment?
Like to,
Very quick.
yes?
The problem when we prove things without it being really clear is it doesn't get done the way we conceptualize. We never decided, you guys never decided if you're going to call all the equestrian facilities recreation or not. So now you're going to have spotty, some people are, some people aren't. You never addressed it. It would have been nice if you did that. And you also didn't make clear in your motion that you're going to make sure that the uses were right. And so, you can always restate a motion. You can always go through it again, resend the motion you just did, but it sure would be nice to have that dealt with, because what you're doing is kicking the can down the road.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item number B. The purpose of this hearing, another public hearing, is public comments on the special land use in the C2 General Commercial Zoning District for a drive-in, drive-through business associated with, subject to section 6.6. Location 525 North Lapeer Road, parcel number P-04-22-151-018. Can we get a quick presentation by the petitioner? Is he here tonight? Are they?
Hi, Andrew Zelke, 4564 Oakhurst Ridge Road, Clarkston, Michigan, 48348. I'm looking at requesting a special land use permit for a new Culver's Restaurant located at, I think it's 525 vacant Lapeer Road next to the TSC, located at 575 Lapeer Road. Proposed to have a Culver's Restaurant with a drive-through located at that current address, and that's pretty much about it. It's pretty self-explanatory, so.
You ready, Mike?
Okay.
open.
Yes, I'd like to move to open the public comment.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for the 525 North Lapeer Road Special Land Use, parcel number 04-22-151-018, Culvers, at 7:45 PM.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the public hearing is open. Is there anyone in the public wishing to speak on the special land use for the drive-through? Drive-in / drive-through.
But the special land use plan regarding the drive-through, that component,
I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
I just questioned the special land use, is it regarding just the drive-through or just the use in general?
It's for the drive-through.
That's what I want to share. It's just related to the drive-through,
Drive-in,
not
drive-through.
the use
Yep.
in general. Okay, that's what I wanted to check.
The restaurant use is a permitted use.
Yeah. Are we open? Can I speak? I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just real quick, I know traffic's a problem there. Callie
Sorry.
Rosner, still live at 3100 Delano. I think after the third time it's given, that should just be
I know.
what it is. I know with the updates to M24, they're going to fix it, but, traffic coming in and out of there with the crossover is bad. What's the plan for that?
As far as M24?
With the egress, is there a shared egress and with the TSC, are they continuing that down? I don't have the plan. Like I said, we weren't provided. That's one thing that I really fought for, is to have that accessory drive. Is that utilizing that?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I would have no problem then if it's doing that.
Anyone else in the public? Seeing none, I'd take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for Culver's drive-through at 7:46 PM.
So I'll support the motion.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed. I'd like to get a review of the comments from the township consultants and staff. Lauren, you want to go first, please?
Certainly. It's been a while since we've had one of these. Would you like me to just cover the special land use first,
Yes.
separate from the, okay.
Yes, just the special land use.
Great. Yes, as was stated, the restaurant use is permitted by right within the C2 district. However, the drive-in, drive-through use requires a special land use approval. This parcel is zoned C2 general commercial and is 3.46 acres in size. Article 4 of the zoning ordinance outlines that the Planning Commission is required to hold a public hearing. And after the public hearing, the Planning Commission shall review the request, make the findings of fact regarding the proposed special land use that I will review. And after acting on the special land use request, then the Planning Commission will take and review the preliminary final site plan. So the special land use of the drive-in, drive-through has special requirements as well, but I'm not going to go through all of those right now. I do want to just mention to you the finding of facts as I found in my review. The first one, point A, is that the proposed special land use must be compatible with the adjacent uses of land. The property abuts a golf course to the west, an office use complex to the south, and a commercial property to the north. We believe that given proper screening, the drive-through should not negatively impact adjacent properties. Point B, the special land use must be consistent and promote the intent and special purpose of this zoning ordinance and other applicable codes. The drive-through wraps around at the rear of the building, allowing a typical commercial district frontage on Lapeer Road, which is in compliance with the ordinance and consistent with the intent of the district as we see it. Point C, the special land use must not pose an unreasonable impact upon the natural environment. And this parcel, although it's not improved, it has previously been graded, and we do not believe that it will pose an unreasonable impact. And point D, the special land use must be compatible with the capacities of the public services and facilities. The site will be serviced by Township Water and Sewer Services, and we do not anticipate any additional burdens to the public facilities as a result of the drive-through. Then point C, the special land use must be consistent with vehicle turning patterns, traffic flow, intersections, view obstructions, ingress and egress. The site composition is appropriate for the district. It connects to the adjacent parcels through a cross-access drive and does not have a single access onto Lapeer Road, which prevents burdensome traffic conflicts. And point F, the proposed special land use must be designed, located, and planned so that the public health, safety, and welfare will be protected. We believe that will occur. Finally, the special land use must be consistent with the goals, objectives, and future land use plan described in the Charter Township of Oxford Master Plan. Future land use designation for the property is general commercial and is consistent with the master plan. Those are my comments related to the special land use.
Okay. Anything from engineering?
No, just to answer Ms. Rosner's question, yes, it will be a shared entrance with the TSC. There was an easement, access easement put in place when the TSC was installed. Other than that, we really have no comments regarding the special land use. Doesn't pertain to engineering items.
Commissioners?
I have none.
Mr. Knoll?
We could talk about things that have concerned to me with the site plan.
Okay. Nothing from down here?
Nope.
Okay, I'd look for a motion.
Okay. I move that the Planning Commission grant special land use approval to permit a drive-in, drive-through business associated with the permitted use. Location 525 North Lapeer Road, parcel number 04-22-151-018, Zone C2 General Commercial. Applicant Andrew Zilk, Culvers. Drive-in, drive-through use associated with the permitted use are listed as a special land use within the C2 General Commercial Zoning District in which the subject property is located per Ordinance 67A, Article 3.5.L.2.K. This approval is based on the following findings. Number one, the proposed special land use meets the findings of fact criteria contained in Section 4.5 of the zoning ordinance. Number two, the proposed drive-through use meets the special provisions for drive-in, drive-through businesses contained in Section 6.6 of the zoning ordinance. End of motion.
Second?
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Good.
Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. To move to item,
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry?
point of order, don't we need a roll call for that? Did it on the previous.
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact. I'm sorry, Mr. Berger, can you do a roll call? for
Yes,
me?
I will. Mr. Spiz,
Yes.
Mr. Knoll,
Yes.
Ms. Knopf,
Yes.
Unwig absent, Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Berger, yes, Mr. Young,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, let's move to item 9, unfinished business, the zoning ordinance 67A. Mr. Berger, you want to bring us up to date? And then Lauren, if you can add in any support?
Okay, what happened was, this was originally submitted to the Township Board for approval. The Township Board then said no. They requested to go back to the ORC for re-review. We took it under a re-review based on the fact that people had said they didn't have comments that they would like to make in regards to this. We did hold a meeting back in June on the 13th. There was a very small party of people that attended. I wrote down every one of their concerns to find out what they had in mind. Most of them were concerned about how certain properties were being utilized up there. We looked at the opinion letter through the attorney from what we were made as a recommendation that we could not exclude the schools and not exclude the churches from the property as uses on the land. So that was one of the key elements that we were trying to make an establishment on what our amendments would be. Once we did that, and the recommendation came back that we could not utilize those as exclusions, we said all the other elements, which were about 14, and they are all redlined in the document to tell you what we did do to make amendments within that district, was the same as what we had originally made to the Township Board. So we're requesting this in front of the Planning Commission tonight then to be approved to take back to the Township Board as a recommendation for approval. I guess Lauren can elaborate if she needs to on that, but that's what we did as a 3-unit. Now, Mr. Hunwick, who's not here, was part of that review process also.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Knoll and myself.
Right,
And,
correct.
and Lauren.
Mhm.
We think it's a good proposal to try and help stop some of the uses that are permitted currently within the district. We've stricken 14 of those uses.
Okay. I haven't received any correspondence on it. I will take any public comment on it at this time. Did he leave? He left. Yeah, I'll take public comment. But that other gentleman, he left, eh?
Who's that?
He'd been trying to talk on it all night, and he left.
Yeah, well, he got frustrated,
Okay.
not being listened to. Callie Rosner, still 3100 Delano. I got this information tonight, even though I had asked for it before, so I know it's the same stuff that was over here a year ago. Nothing changed. I'm disappointed that you didn't integrate and incorporate some of the changes that we had requested. The ag zoning district is a small district. You had the ability to pull us all into a room. I find out about this meeting supposedly on June 13th. I was never told. My neighbors weren't told. We didn't know about the meeting. A few people did. How they found out, I don't know. But I'm kind of shocked, actually. So I know the township board directed you guys to work with members of the community to do this. Well, I'm a member of that community. I'm in the ag district.
Honestly, Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I mean, if you,
I don't know how people are notified. I mean, I'm going to be honest about it.
Right.
So when it was an informal meeting that we knew we were going to have, and we went to the clerk and told him we were going to have the meeting. I think he has a mailing list or some kind of way that he tells people that we're going to have a meeting, and how that gets handled, I don't know. So we held it with the people that came. On behalf of that, we tried to listen to their concerns. But then we also looked into the aspect of the legal constituents on it. And we went from there and said, well, pretty much what we have in place is what we're going to propose again. So
Right.
we did not make any additional changes based on that original document. You
no,
probably
I understand. No, nothing was changed. A lot of our comments, on this
Right.
weren't incorporated. I mean, we do appreciate that some of these things were removed. So thank you for that. It's a drop in the bucket compared to what needs to be done. I'm questioning, you said that there was an attorney review about schools and churches?
Yes.
I've asked for that before. I've asked for that 4 times. It was never provided. Would someone like to provide that so I could actually comment on it?
I think you would.
There was no
have to-
attorney review. It said it needs attorney review. It was the planner said that the attorney needed to review it. But in the attorney reviews that I've spoke with people dealing with it, you absolutely can prohibit religious institutions from certain categories, agriculture being one of them. Agriculture is a higher and better use than residential. That's a business property for agriculture, okay? It has a higher and better use. It's a special zoning district. We're allowed to do things that you can't do in a house, right? In your residential. You can't put a pig farm in the middle of a subdivision, okay? So there has to be balances on that. So yeah, religious institutions do not belong in agriculture. There's only so much agriculture left in Oxford, only so much left in Oakland County. It's a state priority to save and preserve agriculture and open space. And that being the case, you are allowed to actually do something that actually is for a legitimate reason. And promotion of agriculture and open space is certainly one of them, and it is justified. The only thing it says is you can't prohibit religious institutions from your entire community. You have plenty of places within Oxford where you can put them, namely on main roads, paved streets with infrastructure. So you don't need to put it out in ag. Ag is easy pickings. It's cheap, big property. It's open. Okay? You're making us easy pickings. You are actually setting us up to lose what we have. You need to think about that and the reason why. And there needs to be a real discussion about it and a real attorney opinion that needs to be given to us. If you're really not interested in saving agriculture, go ahead and keep religious institutions in. Wait for the big church to come out. Wait for the private college or private religious school to come out and want to set up shop in our neighborhood and see our neighborhood dissolve. You've already seen problems with one incompatible use coming in and the problems it caused. There's 26 properties left. You did take out campgrounds. Again, you've had all the people speak. Nobody's against campgrounds in our area for equestrian use in relation to horse shows. We have facilities that camping with your horse overnight is a required component of these horse shows, which is a big income generator for the business we have here. It brings people to this community. They eat in our restaurants to the tunes of tens of thousands of dollars per year. Promote it. Don't strangle it. So put in that request we had to make sure that our equestrian facilities that have horse shows can have overnight camping. They don't have to have hookups. They don't have to have sewer. We don't need anything fancy. These people stay. They stay at Rattlewood. They stay at Winnigan. They stay at these places. We want to promote that. We don't have a problem with that. But we do have a problem with the large-scale campgrounds like Sportsman Congress and stuff coming in, so we're glad that part's off. But camping in relation to a legitimate business out there, you know, for overnight equine short-term camping should be promoted. It does bring business into this community, so please, if you're not doing it this time, consider that being on the forefront, because you've just created a problem. We have facilities coming up with horse shows next week, and they're camping. They don't have a special land use permit. Just takes one person to shut them down.
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
You know, Callie, we talked about it in length on campgrounds. What we're trying to do is keep out what you specifically talked about a few minutes ago, a permanent campground in nature.
That's why we said short term. We wrote it up. If you looked at what we gave you.
We felt like with people coming in with a camper and putting it on someone's property, just like if a relative of mine came, it's a personal use. We felt like even if a relative of mine came with their camper and they parked at my driveway for 1 week and they stayed in it while they stayed at my house and then they went on and did their thing, we don't have a problem with all that. What we were trying to do when we took that section out of there was trying to take out the possibility of a large campground becoming a more permanent thing in nature. I have nothing
Then you
against
should
those.
write it in.
I have nothing against what
Write
those
it in your
people wanna do.
definitions then. That's a simple thing,
Well,
saying
I think I understand what you said
short-term
tonight.
camping with horses in relation to a
We're
show.
not against that, by the way.
Yeah.
We're not against those people coming for those events
Right,
and those uses that you're talking about.
Right.
I am definitely not against that.
right. So that's what I'm saying.
So,
If that's the case, just
If
put it in the
If that's
definition.
how it got overlooked, that's not what our intent was at
Right.
this point in time, just so you know that.
Right, so instead of doing a lot of wording, you could simply put it in the definition that short-term equestrian camping
maybe
in
we should-
relation to an
And I'm not
event
opposed to looking at.
is not considered
I'm not
camping.
opposing to looking at.
Right, so that would make a lot of people happy, because there's a lot of people very worried about that.
Because then you have to go through and write every permitted use in residential, SF1, SF2, SF3, all of them.
No,
You
it's in
gotta
the
put
agricultural.
permitted stuff?
Ag
Wait.
district.
Okay, we're taking campgrounds out because it was requested, take
No, who
campgrounds
requested
out.
it?
We are not stopping Winnigan Farms or Rattlewood Farms or those farms from having people camp overnight on their private property. This is removing commercial campgrounds.
Sure.
That's all you did.
Correct.
You did not take away the right of the citizen in an ag district to take away their private camping on their property.
I did
So
not.
now, we don't
That was
need to
never
put
our,
it in there.
that was not our intent, right?
It's not. You didn't do it.
Right, but you could fix that by a definition.
You don't have to do that.
Actually,
The attorney
you do,
says
because
You do not have to do that.
you just want conflict, right? I
No,
mean,
you do.
well, no, I don't think so, because somebody calls because they complain about there's 50 trailers and people parked,
That's all.
okay? That becomes like a commercial thing, and there's enough justification for someone to make a point of that. That's, when you could just do a simple definition, that's all. We're just asking you to make a simple definition to make sure that people understand that short-term camping and really, in conjunction in ag zoning with this is not considered
I
a campground.
disagree.
That's all,
I've got
just so
it
it's
noted.
clear.
Okay.
Callie, is there anything else on that, you're supposed to have 3 minutes, but
No, I appreciate
we shared
that.
some of your 3 minutes, so. Is
Yeah,
there
I
any other
understand.
points
I
you want to
had
make?
other people that I was speaking the same thing for, so no, that was it. And the biggest thing there is also just really, really do some thinking, please, about what I said about religious institutions and
Right.
private schools, and really think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Callie. Anyone else in the public wishing to speak on this item, sir?
Paul Warfield, 1220 East Davison Lake Road, Metamora. Mailing address. My questions would be to Mr. Berger, based on some comments you made. You indicated that there was a meeting, I don't remember the date you said, and there were some people there. This was a public meeting? This is a
No, it's an informal meeting.
informal meeting,
Yes,
not
sir.
public?
No.
So no one.
Well, I mean,
It's open.
it was open to the public. Anybody could come.
But
Can
the
I-
public was not
Can I
informed?
just say about that really quick, just so we're totally clear? The board requested that Curtis Wright email the people that had signed up with their email addresses and their contact information to be contacted for that meeting to occur, because there was a specific group of residents that the committee was told to engage with. So that group of people, I think it was maybe 11 or 13 names, something like that, were the ones that were emailed. They had signed up. I don't know if it was at the board meeting or when it was, but that is who they were that Curtis was instructed to
Therefore-
email to notify about it.
Therefore, it was a public meeting, correct?
It was an informal listening session as
And the public was invited?
required by those people were invited.
And the
were
public
invited.
was invited?
Those 11 people were invited.
Public was invited, yes or no?
Those people of the public were invited, yes.
Therefore, it was a public meeting. Could you tell us who the people of the public were that attended the meeting?
I have a list of signatures from the people that attended.
May I see that?
I don't have a problem showing it to them.
Just read them off.
Public meeting?
There was no quorum of any legislative body there, any decision-making body that required a public notice. It would have required a public notice if a quorum of a legislative body was there, and there was not. They don't have power to make that. They are a advisory committee.
Tom, was that the 12 o'clock meeting?
Yeah, it was in the middle of the day.
Noon?
Yeah.
It was a 1:30 meeting.
Yeah, I'm on there.
Yeah.
You are aware of it. There's confusion. Okay. Doesn't sound like anyone knew what meeting.
I'm done.
You're good? Thanks, Paul. Okay, anyone else? All right. Seeing none, I'd move to, oh, I didn't, it's not a formal thing, I'm sorry. Move on to commissioner comments.
Who's here?
Any commissioner comments?
Have none.
Okay, seeing none, I'd like to see a motion.
Because the previously heard agricultural district zoning ordinance amendments, Article 2, Section 2, Article 3, Section 5, and Article 5 remains unchanged since the previous recommendation by the Planning Commission, and because the Ordinance Review Subcommittee has heard the residents concerned and considered suggestions and recommends approval, I move that the Planning Commission stand by the originally approved amendment and forward the amendment back to the Township Board for the first reading. End of motion.
I second.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call, Mr. Berger.
Ms. Knopf,
Yes.
Mr. Nold,
Yes.
Mr. Spiz,
Yes.
Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Mr. Berger, yes. Mr. Young,
Yes.
motion passed.
Let's move into item number 10, new business. The preliminary and final site plan applicant, Andrew Zelk for Culvers. If you want to come up and just give us a preliminary explanation of your business.
Yeah, Andrew Zelke, 4564 Oakhurst Ridge Road, Clarkston, Michigan, 48348. So basically, Lauren gave, I guess, a pamphlet here of our preliminary site plan review. And I guess we can go through, is that the best way to do it, is go through and address each item within the pamphlet, or how do you guys want to do that?
We will go over her comments after
Okay.
you're done with your introduction, if that's okay.
So basically, we're proposing to put in a culvers, obviously, and you guys have seen the site plan. And I guess I'm looking at some type of way of organizing this as to how do you want to address these comments that she had.
Yeah, we're going to go through yours. We can have her go through hers now, and then as we go through them, we can address them with you
Is
at
this
the podium.
pretty much
That's fine.
straightforward? This is a 4,000 square foot drive-through restaurant. parking on the north side for the patrons, and then on the south side, parking for the employees and drive-through restaurant. You can see the trash dumpsters on the back side of the building, and then order waiting on the on the east side, around the drive-through. And I believe there's probably 50-some parking spots with cross-access from the sidewalk along Lapeer Road, and then cross-access, pedestrian access, cross-access from the parking lot to the front door. That's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Let's go through her correspondence. When things come up, then if you want to address those, you can.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay.
Seem reasonable?
That's good.
Okay.
Let's do it. All right, yes, so as he said, it's a 4,100 square foot building containing a single restaurant on the west side of M24, south of Market Street. It will feature a Culver's restaurant, which will contain a drive-through window on the south side of the building. We have no concerns about natural resources. We also believe that the subject site and proposed building meet all of the dimensional requirements of the C2 commercial zoning district. As I mentioned previously, the site will be accessed by a cross-access drive to an existing approach on the neighboring parcel to the north off of Lapeer Road. Additionally, and I do talk about this again in the landscaping portion of my review, but there is an additional drive stub that is proposed for cross-access to the south. And while that is fine to put that in, as it's shown, it encroaches into the required side yard green belt. So we'll talk about that again further in just a moment, but that should be addressed by the applicant. As he said, there's 50-some, there's actually 55 parking spaces, 52 standard and 3 barrier-free spaces. The parking requirement is met. There are pedestrian passageways throughout the parking area, and actually on the original plan that was submitted, those did not exist, and there was not access to the safety path. And I requested that those be put in for the safety of the patrons of their restaurant, as well as those coming from the safety path into the site. And the applicant did a fantastic job of incorporating those into the site plan. Like I said before, the parking setbacks, there is parking on the north and the south side of the building that it both encroach into the required green belt. And making the green belt deficient as required by the ordinance. There are off-street stacking requirements for the drive-through, and the stacking dimensions and the amount of spaces provided and required are within compliance. There is clear identification of pedestrian safety paths as well throughout, and the configuration of the access from the drive lane to the stacking, as I said, the configuration is in compliance as well, so we have no concerns about that. So to talk about the green belts, I do want to say that per section 7.4D of the ordinance, it's required that on all side and rear lot lines a 20-foot green belt is required, and then within that there's a tree required per 30 feet, 30 lineal feet, and a 20-foot green belt is not provided on the north or the south side, so that should be noted. And I want to say as well that although the rear of the property directly abuts a golf course for a small portion of the property, there is a residential property that is adjacent to it. The property comes to like an odd pie shape. The golf property comes to an odd pie shape in the rear corner, the rear southwest corner. And per section 6.6D, a 6-foot-high obscuring wall, fence, or landscaping shall be provided along any property line adjacent to a residentially zoned or used property. And although it doesn't directly abut along a full parcel side line, it is adjacent. So it is our belief that the applicant should provide screening along the rear corner to diminish the impacts of that the drive-through could have in that area. I do want to mention as well that for the green belt and the screening, the Planning Commission does have some does have the power to and the ability to waive or modify the landscaping requirements as you see fit. So if you find that something else may be more suitable, then that is your ability as well. As I said, the pedestrian circulation was great. The lighting we found to be in compliance as well. We did have some issues with the signage, and I can go through those, but I do want to mention that the signage is not required as part of the final site plan approval. Signage is often just approved in the building department as zoning compliance with a sign permit. Although the signage is deficient in 3 different ways, that would require, if he were to push with this current signage, it would require variances. It doesn't have to be a condition of approval today. It can be approved after this meeting. And those concerns are that the menu boards are almost twice the size that are permitted. And that actually is the one piece that is required in signage to be approved by the Planning Commission. It says that it is pending Planning Commission approval for menu boards. The other 2 pieces of the signage are that the freestanding sign is more than 13 feet tall, where a 6-foot tall is only permitted, the other one is that there is a wall sign displayed on each side of the building, all 4 sides of the building, and it's only allowed on one side of the building, unless it's a multi-tenant building, and then you can put it on 2 sides if it's a corner. So those would require, like I said, zoning board variances to permit those, but those can happen after. Because the signage is not, or the final site plan approval is not contingent on signage.
Okay.
And that's it.
You want to handle those one at a time right now?
Yeah, let's go. There's a lot of them. So the first one, was it the screening? Or was it the green belt?
Well,
Yes. Well,
Okay, we'll start with the screening. In the back, I know it comes up to a residential area. It doesn't necessarily touch the residential area, just the way, I don't know if you guys have seen like the Oakland County map or whatever it is, but it's just a small portion of the property comes up to the corner, but it doesn't actually touch the residential area. It butts the golf course in the back. And there is screening that's already there, from the houses behind. With the trees that line the backside of all the properties on the backside of the property, of all the houses. So they've already got natural screening per se already there and in place.
That screening on the Kalia property, or is it on the residence property?
It's on the residential property. There's probably pines there. They're probably,
But you're-
20 or 30.
You're saying the corner doesn't touch?
No, it does not
Goes
touch.
to a corner. So it's adjacent, it doesn't
Yeah.
abut.
It's a real, it's a triangular piece of
Right.
golf course property.
so that's what.
Right.
Doesn't really need screening per the ordinance, but at the same time, there's already screening there from the houses that were originally placed at the time.
Yeah, you can waive that. The ordinance says that if it's adjacent to residentially zoned or used, so it doesn't abut it, but it is adjacent to it. But you can waive that, yeah. The other thing that you could mention is what's going to be done with the back half of the property, because I do
Right,
mention in
and
my
at that
review
point,
as well.
I don't know at this time, maybe
Right.
it could be addressed at a future date, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's a couple hundred, feet away, the drive-through from the residential areas, plus whatever the distance their property line is from their house, so it's probably 300 or 400 feet away. The houses are from the actual drive-through area.
Quick, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Quick question, that's not split property right now, it's all one parcel.
It's all one parcel, correct?
So, I mean, you don't have anything you can do on the back piece of that property.
I mean, I guess, if I could split it or do something, in the future, I don't know. You know what I mean? But there's been comments made in regards to something in the future possibly
Well,
going
then my
back there.
next question would be kind of awkward because you're doing a retention basin, not a detention. You don't have an outlet.
Correct.
So you're trying to say if you put another development in there with bituminous asphalt and all this other stuff, that basin would be big enough for another development?
No, it had to be resized for whatever the development is, obviously, because I don't know what the impervious surface would be at that
And then my next question
point.
would be doesn't something in that zoning district have to abut a public roadway?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
you
it
wouldn't
couldn't
abut,
be split.
that's not a public roadway, it's just an easement for
Right.
ingress and egress.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
that property couldn't be utilized as another parcel for development, in my opinion, anyway. I don't know how.
It could not be split.
I mean, that was one of my questions when I was looking at the plan earlier, so I mean, I'm just bringing it up now because I don't see how it can be utilized. It's one parcel to me. I'm not looking at it as another development. I'm only looking at it as one parcel.
No, that's.
The other question I have is, can the retention basin be within the 30-foot setback? That was the concern I had. Does it need a variance request for that, to be located within that setback requirement?
There is no requirement from an engineering perspective.
Yeah, there's no planning requirement either.
For a retention basin?
I have to
As long as it's on the property anywhere?
Correct.
So, okay, it can be
I mean,
within.
there might be some, if you think of the property to the north,
That was
Tractor
just a question
Supply,
I need to
there's
ask.
some buffering, there's some trees and
One of
things
the
like
things
that
I
up
was
there,
looking
but I
at
don't
when
think
was
it,
looking at the plan earlier. Okay.
Right. So basically, no business can be behind another business, even though they don't abut Lapeer Road, is that what
Well,
you're
the
saying?
district right now, the zoning that you have requires that district,
Okay.
requires a public roadway.
Okay,
You happen to be on MDOT right now.
right,
That's how you're getting it, even though you're
Right.
coming through a service drive to get to your facility.
right.
I don't see how you would have a public roadway within another parcel if something went back there, but
I mean, there's an easement that runs along the whole side of the one property, a TSC.
30 feet wide.
Right,
I'm familiar with that too. I drove it all.
But that, it's
Right.
not a public road.
Because when you go back there, you got no way to turn around except do like a T turnaround.
right.
The property doesn't go around Tractor Supply.
No, correct.
I had to turn around at the rear and come back out, yeah.
Right.
Okay, next item outside of screening was?
Are we waiving?
No, having split screen.
You'll vote on it then before you.
So where we left that, we have to waive the screening, correct?
Waive the
From
screening,
this last little dialogue.
Yeah.
and we also have leeway on the
Greenbelt.
Well,
green belt.
Yeah, Greenbelt's the next thing.
I need to ask another question. I mean,
Yep. Go ahead,
I
Tom.
hate to keep doing this.
Let's get it
If
done.
he's going to address all these concerns, I mean, because we have multiple concerns from her letter. I mean, not just one, two, or three. We have more than that. Isn't he going to have to doesn't he have to present these changes back to us with a site plan to prove that these are going to be done? Are we going to rely on the zoning administrator to go through all this? I mean,
We can.
at this point in time, I mean,
No, we can condition it on him meeting the comments made in the planner's letter.
because
Like we usually.
I feel like, I don't think he has to put the screening up because the property basically doesn't abut residential property.
So
It's,
we can waive it.
You can
it
waive
can
that.
waive, that can be waived easily.
Right.
My other question is the trees that are on the bank property kind of hang over on the property of this property.
I would agree
They
with you.
appear to
Right.
anyway. Let's
Yeah,
just say that, 'cause
yeah, I
I've
don't
been
know,
out
I didn't, the survey wasn't, property line wasn't marked out by the
That's a
surveyor.
beautiful green belt right there. That's
Right.
a really nice screening along
Right.
the north side of that bank property.
Right.
I would not want to see that come down or be damaged or.
I have no intention of doing that. It's more of issue planting trees next to that and kind of see how the landscape works.
I want to know, then I'll ask the planner, the planning administrator, can we waive those trees on that south side
You can waive.
with a screening that's already there?
Landscaping.
Because it's really good screening that's there right now.
Right. Yes, I mean, you can waive the landscaping requirements if the following conditions exist.
So instead of having his parking lot goes to within 10 feet of the property line, right?
Right.
So does that need a variance?
No, you can waive that.
So the planning commission can waive that also?
Screening on the west and the south.
The greenbelt, yeah.
Well, we're talking screening and plus parking. And the parking has 2-foot overhang, so technically the parking's within 8 feet of the property line, and the trees aren't farther, they're not too far from that. So he's not going to be able to plant any additional landscaping materials there other than lawn, in my opinion. But I'm fine with that screening. I'll be honest, it looks really good, and I wouldn't have a problem with his parking that way either. So on that whole south side, I have no problem. I looked at all of it. I don't have a problem. I do have some other concerns, but we're not there yet, so we'll wait until he addresses what he's supposed to do with her letter.
Okay.
I don't have that letter up. You got the letter up?
I did start to pull it up. Sorry, I was working on it when.
I haven't, but I'd rather keep that up for the time.
I have it up.
Let me play around with this for just a
What are
second.
you looking for?
Just want to get to her
The
review.
letter, her review letter.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
Oh, he's got it right there. Or you have it. Oh, a hard copy. I didn't hard copy anything. I just put it on my flash drive.
Thank you. Screening is required.
But I have her letter, yes.
Section 6.68.
I'm sorry, what are you guys?
I'm looking for the next issue.
Do you want to just tell them what it is real quick?
Oh, yeah.
I think that would move things.
I'm sorry, I was trying to
I
help
think
you
it
back
would
here.
move things along a little
Yes.
better than having them look for.
Oh, yes. So,
Because really, he's only covered the screening
This
part.
green,
right
green
now.
belts, want to talk about that?
That's all
Yep.
he's really done.
oh, I did have a comment about the open space plantings, that the whole site should be taken into account when considering open space. And so, and you did not use that calculation.
No,
when
just
you-
just because whenever I planted trees in an open space, they've always died because we don't have irrigation out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we just kind of planted the trees in the areas that are going to get watered.
Okay.
So, and then we just kind of left everything back there, you know, to be determined if it can be developed at a future point or not. And we've kind of addressed that a little bit at tonight's meeting, so.
Gotcha. So that can also be waived. That's landscaping, open space, plantings. The stub, the on the south side of the property, the
Mhm.
pavement that goes up to the property line.
Correct.
Do you want to address that?
Basically, it's just an easement that just dead ends at the property line. I have no way of continuing it on at this point. I'm just going by what was done prior to me coming to this meeting tonight, and what what you guys had done before, as far as trying to get an easement, cross-access easement across the properties along the frontage of Lapeer Road.
I will.
So-
I will add that it would be great if the property to the south were to connect to that easement, but to that cross-access drive. But we, of course, cannot approve that for them to do that in the future. It's an established business and building already. It's landscaped.
I think the stub is fine.
So do I.
That's all he has to do is stub to it, and if it happens later on for a different development to the south, then so be it. Then we have it there for traffic management.
Okay. And the waiver of that would be included in the green belt.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
I have nothing against the south side.
Okay. And the only other issue I have is the signage, which can be handled separate of the.
But that's going to be
Outside
a
of the main-
separate, that's a separate application.
Yes. That's what she
That has
said.
nothing to do with the site plan.
That's what she said.
Okay. I'm good with that,
Unless
too.
he chooses to, I mean, it was included, and Deanna can clarify this maybe,
Well, I want to ask another question in a minute.
okay. When he submitted for the signage as part of this, that was included in his package for final site plan? Is that right? So if he were to reapply separate to the building department, would he have to apply separately for signage? Or could this just be approved after?
The signage, you would have to go for, if it's not a part of the site plan, then you would have to do zoning on it.
Right. Yeah.
So if it's not part of the site plan approval, you would have to come in and do zoning. So yeah, you could do it at a later date, is what you're saying?
At a later date, right, but it would be a separate application and permit.
For 125.
Right.
Well, you still have to permit it anyways, but the zoning would be 125.
Okay.
So if he chose to keep it as part of the final site plan tonight, then you would have to condition approval on it, and it would not be separate.
Correct.
So, say that in English.
I got it.
Yeah.
I'm not with you on this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you what your intent is of the signage before we go further. Are you going to stick with this signage and try to go?
I would like to, yeah.
With
I mean,
two
the menu
variances.
board, you know, Culver's got a big menu board. You know what I mean? It's got anything from dinners to custard and all that. So the signage of that menu board pretty much stays kind of as a brand
Is there
standard.
only one?
Pretty much, yeah.
And where's that located on your plan?
The
6
menu,
cars back, roughly? You got 9 cars located on the property. Is it before the curve?
it's right after the curve towards the building.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah.
Faces
So it's-
west.
It's not labeled well on the plan for me, but I assumed that's where it was.
Right, yeah. Yep, exactly.
Is there going to be any directional signage on that property?
There is, yes. That shows a drive-through in the back and correct.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is.
There's a
And
lot.
the
It's
signage,
all in compliance.
So the directional sign is okay with
It's
us?
fine.
So we can include that as the site plan?
The directional signage?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't do, a sign permit isn't for individual signs. He would submit his entire signage package, and it would be one fee, so it wouldn't.
All at one time?
Yeah.
Directional included?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying if we don't approve signage tonight with this site plan, he has to resubmit everything to come back for signage?
Yes, but that's why I'm asking what his intent is, because if his intent
He
is
just said
to
he wants it bigger.
keep
well,
this
yeah.
sign.
Well, yeah, it's got to be bigger. You know what I mean?
You're not getting final site plan. If you want to come back for a sign change, you have to apply to Deanna for a sign.
Right.
Then we turn it down because you don't meet the ordinance, then you go to ZBA. If you want to do it on this plan right now, it has to go for preliminary site plan to the ZBA and then back for final.
Yeah.
You can get final,
What I'm
pay
trying- that's what I'm
125 and
trying to
ask to
get
be on the
at.
ZBA.
Okay, I'll just do that then.
You're
It
talking
seems,
2 months, another month.
right.
And then coming back.
Yeah, because I can do the engineering and
So
stuff on
you
that way and
remove
do
the
the,
signs
Right.
and then come in and we'll
Yep.
deny you and set you up for next month.
okay, that works.
Okay.
Okay?
There you go.
He just answered his own. What do I?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's gonna be separate.
Save you 10 bucks.
That clears Lauren's, right?
I'm sorry.
That clears your list, I believe.
I believe that clears my list.
All right, let's move on to engineering then. For review of yours? Yep.
Yeah, if you want to go back to the drawing that you had, it's probably the best thing.
You
You
guys,
don't want to look at my letter. Go back
you
to
guys are killing me.
sheet 4.0. In general, a lot of our comments, are more engineering related as far as the need to obtain certain permits, meeting what the fire department is requiring. We believe we counted that the parking spaces were like 2 off, that they show 55, and I think it might be 57. So just double check that.
I think he corrected it, but I'm not positive.
Maybe on the more recent plan than
Right,
what we
yeah.
have, but I think it was off by 2, but it's not a huge deal. The preliminary grading on the site, we find that, for site plan approval, we find that acceptable. However, the stormwater pond, we made a couple comments on that it's just not matching the grades, it's sticking like 6 feet out of the ground, and I think they're aware of that. We've had some discussions beyond this site plan phase right here, and I think that they're going to be able to correct that during the engineering phase. But they are showing a pond. It's going to be retention. The soils up there have been very favorable for the other sites, be it Goddard School, Trash Supply, Leo's Coney. They're all retention ponds. So I don't see the soils changing that much in this area as far as the retention goes. It should be fine. That kind of handles our site grading on there. Sanitary sewer, again, they're showing a sanitary sewer running up the site, running up one of their drive lanes as though it's going to be a public sanitary sewer to extend to the property that's going to remain vacant. I think that's one of the, If there's a plan to develop it, it would need to be a public sanitary sewer, because you can't have just a private lead. Otherwise, bada bing, you just, do a little sewer tap out to the 10-inch sewer that's on Lapeer Road there, and you'd be done with it. So I think that there's, I don't know, I heard Mr. Berger's comment about, the access from the public roadway and so forth, but it's a little bit of a two-way street there, is it going to be a development or not?
Not in my eyes.
Yeah.
Right. If that's the case, then there's not a need for a public sewer, then it changes things a little bit in the way we do things. Same with the water, they're running a little bit of water main on the site, because I believe that the fire chief's requiring an additional hydrant in the rear, so we have no objections to that. Again, some comments about the permits, stormwater runoff, they provided preliminary calculations, everything looks good on that. They're gonna do a soils report and get us that information. Typical stormwater sewer easements, maintenance agreements. With regards to the access agreement in the stub to the south, I mean, that's a preference, what you guys want to do there. He could run the pavement all the way down and install the guardrail, kind of as we suggested, or if you want to maintain the 20-foot buffer, he could still give us the easement across that property all the way and stop the pavement back a little bit further. And then if the road ever did go through across Oxford Bank, it could be connected at that point. As long as there's an easement there, then we can deal with that in the future. So whatever the commission's desire is for that one. Just looking through, boom, boom. Parking lot, safety path, they're showing a safety path, so Mr. Ferrari's gonna be very happy that he finally gets, and Mr. Curtis, gonna be very happy that they get that safety path finally put through on the rest of that. Hopefully they'll do it in, I think it's shown in concrete.
Right, correct.
Yeah, like the rest of it that's going on through there, so.
8 foot.
What's that?
8 foot.
8 feet wide, yep, it's all shown on there. So that'll complete that stretch right through there, which will be very nice. So, I mean, overall, for site plan, everything looks good. We got to work through some things with engineering. Sounds like they're on it. But overall, we're recommending approval of the preliminary and final site plan for the project.
Okay. Commissioner comments, questions?
I just have a
Tom, I know
another-
you had a couple.
He answered something about the traffic with directional signage, so that was one. But what are your hours of operation typically? I don't even know what they are.
10:30 to 10, typical.
10 p.m.
Yeah, 10 p.m. Some locations will stay open until 11:30, depending on the area.
This location?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
10 o'clock would be probably where we're at.
And you got a loading and unloading area there, but it's kind of like, is that right in front of the dumpster? Is that
Correct,
where that's
yep.
supposed to be?
Mhm.
What size trucks typically bring in your product?
Like a UPS truck for bread, and then Gordon will have either, a small semi or a semi truck that comes in there.
40 foot?
I believe so, yeah. I don't know exact.
Are they going to come into your property?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll come in there. Yep,
Into that loading area?
correct.
When the cars aren't there?
They'll come like at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Okay.
very early.
Well, Taco Bell said that one time down in Lake Orion, and then the truck was backing out on the M24, which was kind of awkward too. But,
Right, yeah, it would be awkward. It'd be dangerous too,
so
right?
you have no problem bringing a tractor trailer into that loading site?
No, because we got the access on the north side. You know what I mean? If you
Here?
no pull.
No, he means further north.
TSC.
That's the access drive with that arrow in it right there.
Can you make those cuts with a semi?
Well, that's what I said, but he's saying, he's got an island right there. See that island?
Yeah, you make that.
Jack said he doesn't like islands. Sometimes I don't either because they're getting away when you snowplow and
Is this
everything else.
exact site plan been used in other areas?
Similar to it, yes. Yep.
He'd have to bring a tractor trailer in from the, well, I won't tell him how he has to do it. It just doesn't work well, that's all.
I mean, most of the time he'll circulate. He'll come around the up entrance up the top of TSC, then come around and circle the front, and then go back out again. So he'll park across the front. But like I said, they deliver at 2, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's typical for us.
Okay, I'm just asking because it'd be very awkward with cars in there to bring that kind of vehicle in there.
Oh, for sure. Correct.
I'm
Yep.
just saying it doesn't
Mhm.
seem like it would fit well with me.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, typical, when we receive deliveries is that late in the morning, early in the morning.
Okay,
Anything else, Tom?
no, that's enough for tonight.
Any other questions or comments?
It's my only comment is, everybody's commented about the screening and using existing screening from the residentials, but I'd still like to see screening back there. 'Cause you're adding more lighting, you're adding more stuff up there. And who knows what's gonna happen with that other piece of property. I know we don't think it's gonna be split, but things change in the future.
They would be.
They would be
required.
required for screening at that point.
So, I mean, it's, still like to see some back there for the residents' sake.
Mr.
boy.
Tom?
On his comment, because I don't think he needs to plant a whole lot on the south side next to the bank. He could move a few of those that he would have to put there, back there where you're talking about, and it wouldn't be any more expensive.
I think there's 4 or 5 up front that you're probably
Yeah, there
tearing
you
down,
go. I wouldn't have a problem with that either.
that are where the, stub is going. There's 4 or 5 trees there, but I don't know how big they are and how much it is to move those.
Yeah,
Versus planting.
if you can move that picture up real quick.
He just wants you to move down on it.
Like that little awkward triangle piece right there. We got like 3 or 4 trees in that area right there where the hand is.
Yep.
So there'll be trees in that area.
You're gonna take those 3 trees down right in the front, right? On
Yeah,
the
there's 4
24
trees.
side.
Yeah, they're in the way.
They're in the way.
These
Yeah,
4 trees?
pretty much.
You're taking those right out. He's taking
Correct.
those babies right out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
There you
figured.
go. But I don't want him touching the bank trees, and that's good.
I agree
Right.
with that.
Yeah.
I'd still like to see more screening in the back corner there.
Well, then
They-
you can
those
afford
residents.
to put a little back there.
They do have quite a bit of screening.
Well, I saw it.
Okay.
I'm looking at the Google map,
Perfect.
but still, to me.
Right.
Any other questions, Commissioner?
No, that's a good.
It's a good plan. I have one comment.
Okay.
And I've told all developers that the sewer tap fees, and I'm being upfront and honest with you, the sewer tap fees today are currently $3,500. January 1st, they're going to $5,000.
Okay.
We allow developers to prepay the sewer tap fees today at
Perfect.
today's prices before January 1st.
Okay.
So you heard that from me?
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you for the comment.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
I move that the Planning Commission approve the preliminary and final site plan for Culver's Restaurant, location 525 North Lapeer Road, parcel number 0422-151-018, Zone C2, General Commercial. Applicant Andrew Zilk. Am I saying that correctly?
Zalke, there's a letter missing.
This approval is based upon the finding that the submitted site plan meets the criteria for final site plan approval contained in section 12.5 of the zoning ordinance. This planning commission waives the required screening, section 6.6D and 7.4 green belt and landscaping, open space landscaping requirements. Further, this approval is conditioned upon the following: any additional unresolved items from the planner's review letter dated September 5th, 2019, any additional unresolved items from the fire chief's review dated August 22nd, 2019, any additional unresolved items from the engineer's review dated August 26th, 2019. End of motion.
I second.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Berger, I'd appreciate another roll call vote. Just gonna do it all night long.
Berger, yes. Curtis?
Yes?
Hunwick absent. Knopf?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Spiz?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Okay, yes, motion passed.
Thank you.
Motion passed.
Good, let's hammer the next one then.
Ex-victim? No?
Thank you all for being patient tonight.
Now you're victims.
Yeah. Congratulations, we look forward to it. Let's move on to item, new business, item B, final site plan
Thought we
for
were
Trident
adjourning.
Crest. Is the applicant here? If so, you can come up and give us a 3-minute introduction. I think we're all pretty familiar with.
We're all familiar. Hi,
Yeah.
Bob Tedesco, everybody. Just here to hear your comments on our 49 lot development. It says 50, but it's 49. We'll take 50 if you'll give it a, though.
I couldn't find 50 when I looked.
Okay.
That's how I
Okay.
felt.
Typo.
We're adding a little levity because we've had a long night with a lot of,
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
Situation.
Night things.
it was fun.
what do we need, Mr. Commissioner? Mr. Chair?
Well, we can make highlights from the planner and engineer, right? If there are any.
Sure.
And then I'll take comments from the commissioners. You can answer at will if you need to.
Sure.
Yes, so this is the final site plan. As we reviewed this, let me see, for preliminary approval on April 11th. Since then, the applicant has gone to the ZBA for a variance and was approved from the requirement of the secondary access point on site. I will mention that the 49 proposed units, the proposed site condominium units, all conform to the dimensional requirements of the R1 Single Family Residential Zoning District. We do have one concern regarding the access and circulation, however. The submitted site plan that you see for final here shows sidewalks on one side of the internal street, and per section 13.5.b, sidewalks of at least 5 feet shall be provided on both sides of the public and private streets internal to the development. So we do not find that that is proposed at this time, which is not in compliance. Additionally, we find that the applicant has provided adequate landscaping adjacent to Drainer Road. And we did note in the boulevard landscaping, the boulevard, of course, being used as the secondary access point, the divided road there. We did find that although the zoning ordinance does not contain any specific landscaping requirements for an internal private street with single-family developments, that the boulevard median is landscaped less than what is required for Drainer Road along a public street, as well as for the frontage that is required for street trees along in front of the homes there, which is 50, one tree per 50 lineal feet. We estimated that they were proposing one tree per 60 lineal feet, and no shrubbery were shown. So it was just the trees in the median there. And we recommend that the applicant consider beefing that up and creating a more heavily landscaped median there to make that a little nicer. I did want to mention that the signage was not included on this. It's not required on this, but it will require a signage permit at a later date. Additionally, the master deed will dictate the architectural control of the development. However, the floor plans and elevations were not provided, and those are required as well. I also want to mention that in the township attorney's review, that Exhibit B was required to be submitted for review and approval, and that the attorney had listed that as a deficiency that needed to be corrected. But that is it, and other than that, we recommend approval.
Okay. Mr. Sharp, engineering?
Yeah, I'll run through a couple of them. We've been through most of these before. Going to need a bunch of approvals, obviously. They've been submitting their engineering plans. If you've been down there recently, it looks a little bit different than it did a few weeks ago. They did obtain a soil erosion permit, and they have cleared all the trees from the site. So they're moving forward with that, but that was all done on the up and up there. Site consists of a whole bunch of conservation easements, and we feel that the applicant has effectively worked around all of those. One thing, and I don't know if this is an issue between me and Lauren, but the landscaping continues to be shown within utility easements, storm sewer, water main easements, and hummus trees, and we don't want them in there, so we'll work something out with the landscaper to make sure that we can come up with something that's agreeable to both of us on that. Again, Exhibit B drawings were not provided by the applicant. I believe it's a requirement under the Condominium Act that it be submitted, but it's, until they have final site plan approval and get in engineering, I really don't like making developers submit the Exhibit Bs simply because things do change and it's a lot of reworking that happens. So that's why the attorney always puts that in her letter. But I go back and forth with her on that. Preliminary grading plan has been submitted and that's found acceptable. There are a bunch of retaining walls near the entrance to the site. Some of those are about 11 feet in height. So the developer should be aware that they're going to have to, get structural engineers involved in that. With regards to the sanitary sewer, they're connecting to a 10-inch force main that's out on Drainer Road. No problems there, adequate capacity. They're running internal 8-inch gravity sewers and running it to a pump station within their development. They are in discussions with the WRC right now, and our office, all together working to make that happen. And hopefully on Monday, they will have water to the site. Will be completed with the Crossroads water main project. That's when the final connection. So the developer is going to assist the township and run a 16-inch water line through a portion of their site so that we do not need to run a parallel one along Drainer Road. And then the rest of it will be 8-inch internal. And so we appreciate them working with us on that. Stormwater runoff. They're proposing to run everything with gravity through a mechanical pretreatment structure. Then they're going to go underneath Drainer Road and outlet into Tullamore Lake, which is on the north side of Drainer Road. We have no objections to that. They will need a permit from the Oakland County Road Commission Permits Department, separate division, then subdivision improvement for that. Let's see. Stormwater calculations look good. What else we got on the roadways? They did submit their concept plan to the Oakland County Road Commission, and they did receive concept approval. These are going to be public roadways, not private. So the Road Commission on August 23rd did grant concept approval for the roads within the development itself. 8-foot wide safety path, generally required to be shown on the final site plan. However, the developer has already done a cash in lieu of agreement with the township, so that is the reason why it is not shown on the plan.
Okay.
And in general, with regards to the site plan, that wraps it up. And again, we are recommending final approval of the site plan for Tullamore.
All right, commissioners, questions, comments?
I only have one, maybe, or two, I don't know. Could be three, I get mixed up
Go
sometimes.
forward, Tom.
Did you see a copy of the letter from the attorney in regards to your bylaw and master deed and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna take care of all that stuff through them, right? That's what
It's
they-
already, we've got a draft up, bring to Deanna tomorrow.
Okay, so that's
It's already
not a
been
concern
updated.
for this evening. All right, so that's being taken care of.
Okay.
And I think Mr. Sharp covered everything. I wondered about part of that too, because you don't normally put anything permanent within any easements, landscaping wise. Well, I don't want any of that stuff in there, so we just move it around somewhere else or something, or?
It's tough because it's, it's a tight site with the size of the lots. You look at the Hills of Oxford down there, it's basically all easement almost right up to the condominiums, and so they just had to squeeze the trees in wherever.
Are we allowed to waive any of that, Lauren?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask something.
Sure.
Aren't people gonna do their own landscaping on their reseential properties?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they.
Because I mean, when I
call
look at
pilings.
when I look at a development, after I go in there, after I look at the cert, the grade certs, all those landscape guys come in and go to town anyway, so they're going to plant all kinds of stuff all over the place, and
Right.
they usually plant in the easements anyway when they're not supposed to. So I'd like to waive some of that if we could off this plan a little bit and kind of go from there. Is that-
A route that was taken fairly recently with the Savannah Ridge was that it was written into the bylaws that the residents are responsible to put at least 2 trees.
Oh,
in their-
okay, well
in
then
their
I think,
property.
then we're good to
And
go.
then it
So then we can-
eliminates the requirement from the,
So we can take
from the
that other
developer.
stuff right out of there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, then that answers the question. And he's not responsible for it.
Okay.
Do we have to put that in a motion then?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right. Any questions, Mike?
Or the master
I'm
deed or
good.
something.
Do you have any concern about the inside sidewalk?
no, not now, because
Master deed updated to.
Inside sidewalk.
oh, the inside.
Why are you whispering?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
I asked him about
I
the
know
inside
Spiz.
sidewalk.
I know.
Did you guys have a,
You don't have them.
I know, and I want them.
I knew he was gonna say it.
We don't have a problem with the inside sidewalks.
Yeah.
No, we don't have a problem with that.
You're gonna do that.
okay.
And we'll throw some extra trees. We want the subdivision to look nice too.
Well,
We want
we-
to sell houses, so
we
we want
look
to
at-
bring people in there. So
we
we're
look
not
at
going to
Mr.
put one
Spiz.
tree in the boulevard.
Will you look at Mr. Spiz and say that?
We'll put sidewalks.
Thank you.
Okay,
Can we put trees in the sidewalk?
right.
Sidewalk around the tree.
Are we gonna-
Anything else? Because I had the inside sidewalks, we discussed the landscaping, the master deed.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, any developer that comes to this community and works as hard as Bob and Tom have, working with our water, our looping of our water system, our sewer systems, our infrastructure, payment, these have been gentlemen agreements between the township and this developer, and they've all complied so far. And it's been good working with these guys on this project. We've been doing it now for about 6 months.
Yep.
And we basically have paid for that water main loop by prepaying water taps, so we're doing pretty good. We're just filling in the last section, I guess.
What is the average square footage of, do you know, what's going in?
Of the homes? Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to do similar to the homes that have been building in the community for the past 10 years. And they're going to be ranches, 2,000 square feet and up, and colonials, we're going to start in the 2,400 square foot range.
Yeah.
Nice size homes.
Good.
Ready?
If there's any more comments or questions, yeah, I'm ready.
I move that the Planning Commission grant final site plan approval for the Woods of Tullamore, parcel ID 04-35-200-004, zoned R1, single-family residential, applicant Trident Crest 3. The approval is based upon the following findings. The final site plan is consistent with township ordinance and approved preliminary site plan. The master deed must be updated to comply with the street tree requirements. Further, this additional conditions are as follows. Any additional unresolved items from the planner's review letter dated September 5th, 2019. Any additional unresolved items from the fire chief's review August 27th, 2019. Any additional unresolved items from the engineer's review dated September 5th, 2019, and any unresolved items from the attorney's review dated August 5th, 2019. The street tree requirement is section 13.5.b. End of motion.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, let's drag this out.
Okay, seeing none, Mr. Berger, give me a roll
Oh,
call.
he's looking for a roll call. Excuse me, I'll get that right out. Mr. Nold,
Yes.
Mr. Spiz,
Yes.
Ms. Knopf,
Yes.
Mr. Berger, yes. Mr. Curtis,
Yes.
Unwin Gapson, motion passed.
And I vote yes.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Young.
Okay, motion passes. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Getting late.
Item 11, communications or committee reports. EDC has not met, correct?
Nope.
Okay. Ordinance Review Committee, I know you did meet.
I don't want to make it lengthy, it's getting late, but we have had several meetings, and we're trying to move some things along, and we really wanted to move along the cafe and patio in effort to get that thing in place. And we had it reviewed, we had it put together. We thought we did a really good job. I went to the attorney. The attorney came back with several comments, so we addressed those comments through the attorney, not through the attorney, but the attorney's concerns, all but one, which we feel like it's important to keep patios and cafes separate by definition. And so we're still moving in that direction. And I can have Lauren elaborate on anything that she might want to feel like is necessary to do, but we want to try and bring that to the next available regular meeting for the cafe and the patios, because we don't have anything in place right now to help us with that when people want to come in. And we're also working on, we looked at the industrial district, and we're looking at the office and professional district, and we're also looking at some new things that have been presented recently, I believe by you, Mr. Young, concerns with noise and golf cart movement. Usage and such. So we have kind of programmed ourselves into putting some things in first place, second place, et cetera, to move on the next meeting agenda. So we're trying to get things in better position from what we started with, because we kind of got lagged behind there for a while. We think we're moving in the right direction right now.
All right.
Yes, but we do want some feedback from you regarding this.
On the patio cafe.
On the patio cafe, yes. So the patio cafe ordinance amendment came to the Planning Commission in May. There was a public hearing. The Planning Commission voted to approve it and move it along to the Township Board. When it got to the Township Board, it also, a letter from the attorney accompanied it, and the attorney said, I've got some recommendations to this ordinance. There's a list of, I think, 6 things that should change on this amendment before the Township Board approves it, or reads it.
Are they in this letter that's
They are not in this letter.
Oh, okay, so I can throw that out too.
You're talking the September 5th letter?
Yes.
No, they're not in that.
They are not. I would like to run through just a few of them for you. I will tell you that out of those 6, we took 5 of them and said, yes, we agree with them. There is one that we did not take, and that's what we want to discuss with you.
All right.
Okay? Let me just mention that what we did take was that they recommended the words exist currently that items within, I think, C1 or C2 are within a completely enclosed building, which we had taken out. We have since put that back in, that it should still, activities should still be within a completely enclosed building, with exception, we added the text with exception, as otherwise provided, which was language directly recommended to us from the attorney. Something else that was recommended was that this process go, because a cafe, well, we talked about this in May, but let me just summarize really quick. So the difference between a cafe and a patio is picnic tables outside that accompany an indoor use, and a cafe is an outdoor patio that can be, or an outdoor seating area that can be served food and alcoholic beverages.
Yep.
Because the Township Board approves an operating license for a liquor license for people that serve alcohol, in order for them to serve alcohol outside, the Township Board has to approve an amendment to their operating license that would allow them to serve alcohol outside. So the attorney recommended that we put Township Board approval into the process of the special land use for the approval of the cafe, and we agreed, because that's what they would have to do to serve alcohol outside. Okay. She also recommended that we put in time limits that they're allowed to be outside, and noise limits that they're allowed to encroach upon sound with their neighbors, which we also put in, and we actually eliminated any amplified noise or music outside just to keep it clean, to allow for compatibility with adjacent uses. The one thing that we did not, which your letter, the memo in the packet says, As originally proposed, cafe and patio are listed and defined as separate uses, allowed in separate districts, which differs from the recommendation of the attorney. She recommended that we put one use as a special land use, whether it is picnic tables or whether it is a whole outdoor seating area to be served. Because a patio will be defined as an outdoor seating area with a more intense use, which is food and beverage service, that will be allowed at a cafe, and because the cost is vastly different, a permitted use with just picnic tables and chairs for, say, Frosty Boy, would only be $125 for them to come in to request that, or a special land use, which would have service outside of alcohol and possibly alcohol, but definitely food, was almost $6,000. There's a significant difference.
Yeah.
In the application and approval process, this type of use, based on the C1 and C2 uses for patio permitted in C1 and C2, and for cafe, a special land use only in C2, which requires planning commission and township board approval. We find that the separation of uses is important to provide flexibility in uses in the township, and that's why we have kept them separate. So we'd like to, before we have a public hearing on this, which we would like to do at the next meeting, we'd like to address any concerns that you have, listen to anything you have to say about that specific issue, and prepare the ordinance so that we can come back for a public hearing at the next meeting. Do you have any issues?
When is the next meeting?
Not sure.
Next
Probably
available
October
meeting-
10th.
Next
Okay.
available meeting.
Yours won't be in time for.
We do have a site plan, excuse me, we do have a site plan that will be on the October 10th meeting probably.
So, just clarify one thing for me. So, if I'm at a Frosty Boy type thing?
Yep.
They can have picnic tables on their patio.
Yeah.
They would
And that-
apply, so they would come in and they would apply
Sure.
for that, for zoning compliance.
$125.
Yep.
But cafe's gonna cost $6,000,
Ish.
full thing, food, liquor,
Correct.
Well, it's a special land use, right?
yeah, but no speakers,
Correct. No noise.
so no music whatsoever.
Not to include amplified music or loudspeakers is how we did it.
So you could still have music, it just you could
You could have a TV outside and look at that. You could have other stuff out there, but
elevated music.
loud amplified music, no. We don't want it to travel all the way across.
Right.
But if it comes through a speaker, isn't it amplified?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, if you've got garden speakers or whatever, I mean, is that different?
No, your speaker, think about it, you're an electronics dude.
I don't know.
You got speakers and you don't have to have amplifiers. You have amplifiers to make them louder.
Yeah.
Okay,
We said amplified music. Because we didn't want some band to come outside, start rocking and rolling and have that stuff go all the way across into the neighborhood.
right, okay.
That's kind of what we were, that's,
No, I just
But
want
are
to
we
make
gonna put
sure
decibel
that
levels
I
on
understand
that?
it.
We have a noise ordinance
we have a
in
noise
place.
ordinance for decibel.
The concern is,
Not patios.
is implementing that and enforcing the
Right.
noise ordinance.
Yeah.
That's the concern. So if we were to put like a certain level, which there already is one,
Yeah.
so we could use that if necessary, but by eliminating it altogether, we're just saying you can't have speakers out there, you can't.
Speakers, you can't
Well, you
have
see-
amplified.
Right, you can't have amplified music or speakers.
Amplified or live.
Right.
Okay, I want to make that,
Live?
I want to make sure too, right?
Well,
What's the?
they still by the ordinance, whatever the decibel level is. I mean, we still have that in place. They can't exceed that anyway. Or they're in violation of the ordinance.
We're wine and dinner.
Okay,
We think
that's
it,
what I think anyways.
Yeah.
I wanted to get clear. Anyone else?
Good.
You're good, too.
For now.
And we will, like we said, we'll put, this is, I mean, what you see in front of you is the ordinance that we have, reflects the changes of the attorney. So this is what will come back to the public hearing in October. And so if you have questions over this course of the next period, feel free to.
Is there anything you guys thought the public might push back on? That's all I'm.
We thought
set
that
up
the
front.
board would push back on the noise. We were informed that that is a problem, so that is why we removed it.
Okay. All right, I'm good.
well, that's ORC's report.
All right, thank you. Anything else from the planner or engineering?
I got a bunch of stuff. I'm going to keep Mr. Curtis here as long as I can.
Okay.
No, just a
I'll call him tomorrow.
just a couple of updates here. One is next to the Ace Hardware. There's a small piece of property. It's owned by Consumers Energy.
The north side.
They went to ZBA, right, to get a variance on a little shed or something that they put up
right.
there. So if you see activity on the site,
Which they were out there today.
yeah, it was all done kind of administratively. So if you see activity on the site, it did get approved, administratively through the township here.
It did get approved
Essential
without barbed
services.
wire and chain link fence. It is supposed to be aesthetically pleasing, wrought ironish aluminum type fence. And a
Alright.
very small parcel, which is very small.
It's essential services, so it didn't require planning commission approval.
So,
Updating
It's a regulation.
Yeah.
The gas company. is
yes,
put-
right at the corner, just north of the Ace Hardware, Stone's Ace, right at Minnetonka is a really small thing.
Who's
They're taking
regulating?
some of these underground
Yours or ours?
things out and putting them all above ground, confined space stuff and everything. Secondly, at the August meeting, August Township Board meeting, the Township Board put their foot down and kind of told Mr. Mills at the Legacy Center to follow up on a lot of his site plan items that you guys had approved or told him that he had to do and would not. So bottom line, he's up there doing dumpster pads. There's some activity going on there for a safety path along M24 right now. So the board kind of finally put their foot down and making him do some stuff.
Okay.
And then lastly, as Lauren kind of alluded to, probably at the October meeting, you're going to have a preliminary site plan for a 70-unit residential development up here at Westlake, which is the last phase of Waterstone.
Yep.
Just north there. So again, they got an entrance off the dirt part of Dunlap, and good luck getting them to pave it, but sure would be nice if we could make these developers pave the darn road to get to their sites. That's all I have.
Okay, very good. With that, we adjourn the meeting at 9:13.
I second.
Meeting adjourned.
Thanks for suffering through.